All right, we're going to see a bunch of changes out there, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be
So
very,
this,
very surprised going forward. So let's talk about all this today, and I've already got the trending phrases for the next 12, 24 months. There's going to a lot of shock people out there. We're going to hear a lot of things like, "What? Wait, I didn't think this was going to had anything to do with me. I didn't think this would hit my family. Why didn't anyone warn us? I thought Medicare was safe. I just assumed it wouldn't touch us." I guarantee I ran the third business Social Security office in the country. I worked for Medicaid Department of Social Services before that, and I'm here to tell you that unfortunately, that even if you're not receiving Medicaid, even if you're saying, "Hey, I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm working, I'm elderly, I'm disabled, none of this really affects me, so I don't care." It's There's a very, very good chance it's going to affect you, and it's definitely going to affect your family, your relatives, those people around you in your community. So we're going to talk about that today, exactly how that's going to happen. This is also a live Q&A as well, so it looks like I've already got a bunch of questions. So I'm going to answer any questions for about an hour, and so make sure you type your questions down there and we'll get to them. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Here's the big surprises. Is Medicare disenrollment. So even if you're not receiving Medicaid, or excuse me, Medicaid disenrollment, even if you're not receiving Medicaid, this affects people because it affects hospitals. There's close to 900 hospitals throughout the country that are having financial difficulties right now. And when you kick people off of Medicaid, that is less income coming in for those particular hospitals. And as we've seen, they're just going to shut down or they're going to reduce hours. So emergency room 24/7, not so much, maybe 12 hours. They're going to cut back on staff. So the staff is, cut back on OBGYN. And that's already been happening across the country, and now it's going to accelerate. So even if you're not receiving Medicaid, again, you're going to be one of those people that, yeah, I don't care. I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm here in this country legally. I don't have Medicaid, or I do, but I work. And, you know, uh, it's still going to affect you one way or another. This is the trickle down of trickle down economics. They've been talking about, trickle down economics since the 1980s. And this is definitely the trickle down. Okay. So here's how this thing works. Here's how it's written. It's called bureaucratic disenrollment. So you have the work requirements. Great. Okay, fine. Then, people, there's about 6% in there that are receiving Medicaid. There's some Medicaid expansion states. So there are people that could definitely go back to work. So, we should have focused on that, but that's not what they did. They used that as a cover to make massive cuts, about $1 trillion of cuts to Medicaid. As I always say on this channel, regular viewers know, I say it's like, telling your kid not to eat junk food and then saying, well, I'm just not going to I'm going to cut back your food by 50%, and that should reduce your junk food you eat. No, you reduce the junk food, right? But that's not Congress did, because that wasn't their intention. Their intention is to kick as many people off of health care as possible. So work requirements, okay, work requirements. But the documentation that is required, this is the devil in the details. It's the bureaucratic disenrollment. This goes across the board. So the Affordable Care Act as well. And we're going to get to Medicare as well. This is also going to cut Medicare. A lot of people are going to be very, very surprised. Go back to my first, I thought Medicare was safe. No. So all of these forms, and if you're late, if you fill out, if you check the wrong box, you forget to, date it correctly, or if you do everything 100% perfectly and you send it in to your, state Medicaid office, Medi-Cal office, Denali Care. Well, I guess Denali Care, the people in Alaska don't have to work because Lisa Murkowski, the senator there, pretty much sold out the rest of the country so she could protect her citizens. So congratulations, Alaska. You are the exception. Your Medicaid and everything, you're going to be good. You're actually getting some extra benefits as well. So congratulations, Alaska. But the other 49 states, I guess we don't get that Kodiak kickback, as they're calling it. So they're also going to be doing twice yearly verification. So again, this is another thing. This one is really going to hurt people. So the 8-hour work week, if somehow your employer, or the 80 hours a month, if your employer, you go on vacation or something like that, you just might lose your Medicaid. There's also going back to 6 months. So this happens every 6 months. And if whatever local Medicaid office doesn't get your documentation, and this is also going hand in hand, you're required to jump through a lot more hoops, and they're cutting back funding to Medicaid offices throughout the country. So social services offices, the states are not going to be able to, to fill in those gaps. So they're not going to be able to help you. The previous administration actually passed a law that was supposed to go in effect that these civil servants, these people that worked in these offices, were supposed to help you to make sure you can jump over those hoops. That has been canceled. Sorry, no more of that. You're all on your own. And I've got a strategy here. Regular viewers to my channel know that I've always got a strategy to see what we can do about helping people out. That's why I've got my website, mygovexpert.com, when it has all the information on retirement, disability, family benefits, survivor benefits, Medicare, and living on Social Security alone. And I have a coming soon. Once the final version of this bill passes, I'm going to look through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we're going to put together a resource for those people out there to make sure you're able to jump through all those bureaucratic hoops and make sure you don't lose your health insurance. Not permanently, or not for a month or 2 months. That's what a lot of people are going to happen, unfortunately, is they think, well, I'm entitled to benefits. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're a U.S. citizen, you're elderly, you're disabled, doesn't matter. If you don't fill out the paperwork correctly, you're done. Maybe not permanently, but you could lose your health insurance for a month or 2 months and miss that prescription and miss that doctor's appointment. And this is extremely important. People are missing that now, and we'll go into Medicare because of that. So it moves it from yearly certification, recertification, to every 6 months. So you're going to have to jump through these hoops every 6 months. And there's not going to be anybody there to help you out. But our community here is going to be here to help you all out. So make sure you subscribe and like and all that kind of good stuff. Some of these states have over 15 pages of forms that you have to fill out. Again, this is every 6 months now. And under the new law that was supposed to take effect, they have what's called you're categorically eligible. That if you're categorically eligible, like if you're receiving SSI or something, then they will automatically sign you up for the Medicaid and the Medicare Savings Program to pay for your $185, the Medicare Part B premium, and then you can get one of those grocery cards and all that kind of stuff. That process was supposed to be so much easier, but they decided to throw that out, that baby out with the bathwater. So the result of this is we're talking about $1 trillion of cuts. And again, even if you don't receive Medicaid, even if you receive it and you think you're good because you're in this category, you're this category, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Again, this is going to be the phrase, the trending phrase for next year is, I didn't think it had anything to do. Why didn't anybody warn us? Why didn't anybody tell me? Well, y'all can't say that. What about Medicare? So a lot of people are going to say, Ed, there's nothing about Medicare cuts in the so-called big billionaire bill. That is correct. You're right. Well, there's a little bit in there, but not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is this pay-go. This, and while we're playing checkers, politicians are playing chess. And we're saying, hey, Medicare is good because it's not in there, and I don't receive Medicaid, so I don't care. I receive Medicare, and I have my Part A and my Part B and my Advantage plan or supplement plan, so I'm good. I'm not worried about any of this. No, sorry. What happens is, because this bill creates a massive deficit, so-called these deficit hawks that hate deficits, they love it when it's deficits giving to their billionaire supporters. But traditionally, when they pass a bill that creates a humongous deficit like this, then they put in there that, okay, the pay-go It's pay-as-you-go system. It was a law passed in 2010. They suspend that and they say, yes, 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 we know that's going to cause massive debts, massive deficit, but let's not start these automatic cuts to these other programs to compensate for that. They didn't do that this time. So basically what it is, this law kicks in and it says, okay, guys, you built up this massive deficit, you automatically have to find cuts somewhere else. And the pay-go system, it exempts Social Security Administration, it includes the VA, the Veterans Affairs, but Medicare, it doesn't. So what's going to happen is we're going to see billions and billions and billions of dollars cut out of Medicare. And this all begins immediately. October 1st, 2025, we're going to see an annual Medicare reduction that's going to be automatic. And guess who's in charge of this? Part of the pay-go system is it gives that authority over to the Office of Management and Budget, a guy named Russell Voigt. He is one of the main authors of Project 2025, and he's chomping at the bit to get this authority. He's going to go hog wild on Medicare and everything else. So we're going to see hundreds of billions of dollars in Medicare cuts. And so if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, a Part D prescription drug plan, it's 2026. The 2026 plans are going to be crazy. It's if you live out in the country or out in the desert somewhere out west, your hospitals are going to be affected because those hospitals are not, again, they're not only going to be affected by Medicaid, but they're also going to be affected by Medicare cuts. These Medicare Advantage plans, prescription drug plans, they're going to start cutting back, paying doctors less, paying the hospitals less, and all the rest of it. And I'm not even talking about the Affordable Care Act. That's most of my viewers are seniors, so I want to focus on Medicaid, Medicare, and the Affordable Care Act is just going to triple everything down and makes everything way, way, way much worse. All right, so I've got into as many of those as possible. So let's go ahead and start getting into some of your particular questions. So if you got any questions, make sure you type them in there, and we'll get to as many as possible in the remaining 50 minutes. Focus Lady, what's up? Thank you for explaining the new regulations. Even if it's bad news, it helps people to hear realistic information. Yeah, everybody's trying to shoot the messenger that I always have bad news. Unfortunately, this is probably the worst. If this thing passes, this is going to be the most, Jeff Bezos, we paid for his wedding. What his wedding was like $50 million. He paid for that wedding. Leonardo DiCaprio was there, and we should be invited. He is going to save hundreds of billions of dollars. I kind of ran the estimate. So in terms of corporate tax cuts, he is going to receive, him alone, capital gains and dividend reductions. They're repealing the Medicare surtax. People make over $250,000 pay a higher Medicare tax. They're going to repeal that. That's going to hurt Medicare. If he gives, something happens to him, he gives it to his family, then the estate tax loopholes are going to save his family billions of dollars. So we're talking about over 10 years, he's going to save about $1 to $3 billion. And him, it's chump change. It's a rounding. No big deal. So yeah, we just paid for his wedding times what, about 100, and I got nothing out of it. No hors d'oeuvres, no bands, no gift bags. I hope you all did, because I certainly didn't, and even though we paid for it. So baby girl. So at 12 years old, they took $319 out of my Social Security from 1966 to 1980. I didn't start working until 72, 73. I see lots of errors. Took out $319 out of my Social Security from, okay, not sure. You were receiving Social Security at those years and they took out that money, or you were working during those years? People say, "Oh, I won't work at 12." I was working at 12 years old, delivering newspapers and cutting grass, but I didn't pay Social Security, and it's a little bit under the table. That's between you and me, right? So, Linda, thank you very much for the teachings and sharing information. You are welcome. I wish it was. I wish it was more. I'm with y'all. I wish it was a lot more positive. Once a year is enough. Now every 6 months, that is hell. Yes, and based on the law that was passed, they were going to make it a lot easier, electronic verification, everything like that. But now they're going back to the old archaic system. You're going to have to, if you've done a recertification before for your Medicaid, then that was probably easy-ish. It's going to get a lot more difficult going forward, and that's the intent, is to get people, and a lot of the people receiving Medicaid are disabled and elderly and mental issues, and they run across these hurdles, these walls, because they missed this particular page, or they didn't get in, or they didn't know there was a deadline for this, that, and the other. They didn't get the letter. Doesn't matter. Sucks to be you, as we used to say in the Marine Corps. You're going to lose your health insurance, and you'll get it back if you complete all those steps, but that might take another month or 2 months, and you're going to be freaking out and stressing, and you've got a prescription that you need to get filled, and they say, well, sorry, until you get all the documentation, we'll reimburse you, but maybe for a month or so month after. So again, I worked at the Department of Social Services doing Medicaid, and it was a nightmare, understaffed. So many people needed it, and it's going to be, unfortunately, so much worse going forward. What would the legal repercussions to helping people fill out the reevaluations? If the legal repercussions to helping people fill out the reevaluation, I'm not sure. So we're talking about you're on disability and you've got a continuing disability review or something like that. Yeah, if you ask someone to help you out, yeah, that's your right. I don't know if you're asking about what our project is going to be here. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share and all that kind of good stuff. Because again, once the final details come out and all of the states figure out exactly how they're going to make this red tape even worse, then our community here, we're gonna get together. I'm working on a separate part of my website right now, and we are going to help people across the country with that documentation to show, okay, hey, if you're in this particular group, you should have already gotten your letter. And if you didn't, you need to go into this particular website and you need to download that letter. You need to download that form. And here's how you fill out that form. And we're going to help people across the country make sure, they don't get canceled simply because of the documentation. Whether you're, your hospital and all that, unfortunately, not going to, yeah, well, yeah, there's hundreds of hospitals that are going to be in dire straits. I want to start something at senior centers. Yes, please do. Okay, I see what you mean. You're the same person asked the reevaluation. No, yes. See, we've got the best community on the internet right here. We've got the best community. Y'all go out there and help people. So yeah, if you want to go out to a senior center and set up a table, I'm sure people are very, very happy to do that. And if you got any particular questions, remember, I also have my live Q&A that people record videos. So I've got about 4 people that recorded videos today asking questions. So I will get to those here in a little bit and answer those questions. And Michael, yes, thank you. The House still has to vote on this. Perfect. Thank you. Yes, we still have an opportunity. Thank you for reminding me there. So it passed the Senate, but that was a House version, and it, the old, was hold. You want to be cruel to, the people that can't, that are really vulnerable, that are having a hard time, living month to month. Well, the Senate said, hold our beer, hold my beer. We're going to make it even worse. So the Senate bill is even worse than the House bill. So the Senate bill did their thing, and they're going to return it to the House. And if the House passes it, they can't change 1 comma if they want to pass it as is. If they pass it without any changes whatsoever, then it immediately goes to the president. He's going to sign it, and then it's done. But it still has to go back to the House, and if they disagree with it, and then they'll have to, make changes, and then there's a committee type thing. And so yes, thank you, Michael. We still have an opportunity. So reach out to your politicians and your House of Representatives, your Congress people, and say, no, As I said, the House will bend their knees to DJT. Yes, this is the unfortunate thing. You hear a lot of interviews, and it's not about the people. Like Lisa Murkowski proved it's not about the people. All these politicians say, yes, I know, I hate it. They know it's going to hurt the most vulnerable people in their population in their home states. They don't care. They just don't care. They just care about one thing: keeping their job and not being embarrassed nationally by Truth Social, the president, or primarying them, and they're losing their job. That's preservation. They don't care about your preservation. They just care about keeping their jobs. That's pretty much it. So, is it possible to remove yourself from SSDI if moving overseas? What is the procedure for that? Yeah, if you want to give up your Social Security disability insurance, yeah, you have that right to tell them to stop sending you money. But moving overseas isn't an issue. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can live anywhere in the world, as long as it's not North Korea or Cuba. And if you go onto my website, because there's so many people moving overseas, I've got living overseas with Social Security. So if you're a U.S. citizen, no issue whatsoever. If you're a green card holder, you have to check out this little payments abroad screening tool here. Disability overseas, it gives you some pointers and stuff. But no, there's a lot of people receiving disability benefits that are living overseas. So that's not necessarily going to stop your check. You just have to make sure, the Social Security knows where you are in case they, want to send you a continuing disability review. Catherine, I worked in social services for 20 years. Used to be a monthly rep, semi-annual reporting for Medicaid. Used to be a monthly rep, Yeah, in some states they do a little bit different. Medi-Cal is Medicaid in California. And, that's, with SSI and Medicaid and they also, if there's any changes, there's alerts that pop up. If you're receiving Medi-Cal or Denali Care or, Apple Care or whatever your state calls your Medicaid, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of money that goes into your bank account, there's an alert that pops up that says, hey, looks like this person just got a lot of money in their bank account. And so they reach out to you and say, hey, what's going on with this? So let's see. Why are you so negative? Yeah, why? Yeah, reporting the news. The cruel people, the millionaires and billionaires, as well as the upper middle class, are going to be okay. Yeah, that's a fact. Even more than okay now, even better. The people with the bunkers are going to be safe. Yes. Yeah, there's a great book by Robert Bella, Habits of the Heart, and he talks about that kind of these. We're no longer living in communities. We're living in kind of lifestyle enclaves. So a community is a group of people, kind of a neighborhood, and you've got different people, rich people and poor people and disabled people and elderly people, and that's a community. But we've kind of separated into kind of lifestyle enclaves where, the rich and the well-off have their homeowners association, gated communities, and they don't care about the roads because their roads are private. They don't care about water because they got their private water coming in, and they don't care about the police force because they've got their own security there. And so what happens outside of the gates, they really don't care. So great book, Robert Bella, Habits of the Heart. Definitely check it out. Susan, I forgot to mention, I'm 68, to my question of Medicaid paying my Medicare premiums only with prescription help. Since income's so low, I was disabled, which converted to regular retirement. Okay. Yes, I'll start at the end. Because you are past your full retirement age, your disability, everybody's disability benefits turn into regular retirement benefits. So that happens to everybody. But your check stays the same and all that. So no real changes, except for now you can work if you want to, and no more CDRs, continuing disability reviews. But yes, if you have Medicaid, the higher levels of Medicaid, then you are, as of right now, eligible for the Medicare Savings Program. And the Medicare Savings Program pays for your Part B. So the higher levels of Medicaid, the state pays for the $185 your Medicare Part B premium. But if you lose that, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people are going to lose their Medicaid because of all of these cuts. Even if you're entitled to you might lose it because you didn't fill out the paperwork perfectly. And then you'll lose your Medicaid for a while until you get it all fixed, and then they will stop paying for your $185, and that's even takes longer to fix. I guarantee you that, because it's basically 3 different computer systems talking to each other. So if the state is paying your $185 and there's a hiccup, you could lose that $185 for 2 or 3 months, because we're talking about a state, the Medicaid system, the computer system. We're talking about the Social Security computer system, and we're talking about the Medicare computer system. There's 3 different computer systems talking to each other, and it usually takes a good 2 months or so to restart all that. They will reimburse your $185 once they restart it and you've correctly qualified and everything like that. They will reimburse you, but you will be without that $185 for 1 or 2 or 3 months, and depending on, when they restart you. And then, so they're paying your Medicare premiums, and then you're also having the extra help with prescription drugs. So that, you don't necessarily have to be on SSI to get that LAS. It's called the Low Income Subsidy, extra help with your Medicare prescription drugs. That's a Social Security program. So if you're having difficulty paying for your prescription drugs, please, please, please reach out to Social Security and apply for extra help. Just say, hey, I need extra help with drugs, and they'll do an application. Really, really easy application. There's nothing in the big, beautiful bill that makes that application more of a nightmare. Well, it's 1,000 pages. Something might be hidden in there, but as of I went through most of it, and I didn't see anything changes on the prescription drug extra help. So, what is your take on supplement Medigap G plans? I love them. Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of partial to the N plan because I'm cheap like that, and N plans are usually a little bit cheaper every month, but it really depends on your particular situation. If you want more of the coverage and you're willing to pay a little bit more, then yeah, G plans, always, always, always recommend Medicare Supplement, Medigap, G or N plans. You used to have the F plan, but you can't get those anymore. So I say, if there's 10,000 people turning 65 every day in America, and there's people that are moving and losing their Medicaid and whatever the case may be. And so if you're out there in the market and you're looking to cover the gaps of original Medicare is great, the Part A, Part B, but there's a bunch of gaps. The big one is the Part B 20%. So you have to pay 20% of everything. So that's why people either get a Medicare supplement, G or N, or a Medicare Advantage plan. I always, always, always recommend, anytime you talk to anybody, and nobody will charge you for this. You call Chapter, they won't charge you for this. It's all free. And you always, doesn't matter who you talk to, when you're looking for something to cover those gaps, always say, okay, I want to see what's best for me. Tell me about Medicare supplements like a Medigap Plan G or N. Tell me about those. And then they'll tell you about those, and then says, okay, now tell me about Medicare Advantage plans. And then you make what's the decision that's right for you. But unfortunately, there's a lot of Medicare insurance people out there that just want to sell you a Medicare Advantage plan because it actually makes them more money, and it makes the health insurance company more money. So it makes me sick, what they are doing to us. I can't say publicly what my wish is. Yes. Yeah, I'm with you. This is negative. Yeah, a lot of people scaring. Yeah, I'm just reporting the reality. I wish I could be talking about independently entitled divorce spouse benefits, or how to get more money out of Social Security, which I do on a daily basis. But unfortunately, this is what we have to talk about today. So I wish I didn't have to. This is the worst bill in decades. If it goes into law, this is the culmination of the whole trickle down economics. We just give more and more money because definition of stupidity. We keep trying the same thing, giving more money to the rich, and eventually it'll trickle down to us. But nothing is trickled down but pain. Could you put a link on here to show some of us where to go, please? In terms of my website, perhaps, it's just, yeah, the mygovexpert.com. So just click in mygovexpert.com. Let's see. I am having trouble refraining from telling my friends, relatives, thanks a lot. Are you happy now? Yeah, yeah, we have to, you know, told you so type stuff, but that's, believe me, within the next 12 months or 18 months, if your friends, relatives are very, very lucky and they don't live in a rural area and, you know, the prices are going to go up for healthcare for everybody. It's, there's a 99% chance it's going to affect them, but they won't admit it. Lisa Murkowski did not get that deal. It was thrown out by the parliamentarian. No, it was thrown out the first time, but they made another last minute deal. Yeah. So, and then Rand Paul even said that she sold out the rest of the country. And then, yeah, she was interviewed about that, and she's not happy about that. But my job is just take care of you know, people in Alaska, and that's what I did. And so, yeah. How come they are not file an injunction to stop it in its tracks? Well, yeah, that's an interesting thing. Well, you can't really do an injunction because this is law. So yeah, if it passes, obviously, you know, and it's signed by the president. Well, it's a bill now, but once it's signed by the president, it becomes a law. And then if there's any challenges, then it goes to the courts and, you know, maybe the Supreme Court, and they'll decide whether this part of the law is you know, Constitution or not. So, yeah, it's not an executive order that can be stopped with an injunction. And even the injunction thing, you know, they include in their kind of, yeah, the gives the president ultimate power in some respects. Thanks for helping us. Could you micro-explain what's going to be the 4% cut starting October 2025? Yes. So it's basically, I don't know about the micro part because it's still in the works, but basically the pay-go system, it says that if whatever you do, Congress, if it causes a deficit, you have to balance it out with something else. You have to find money someplace else. And the place where you're going to go is Medicare. But the law also says that you can only cut 4% from a particular agency, so it's only 4%. But a lot of you know, doctors and hospitals out there know that you think, oh, 4% is not that big a deal, but it's a big deal because a lot of these hospitals, particularly, are just, you know, razor thin staying alive. And there's a lot of doctors that are kind of on the, you know, on the fence, and they're like, well, should I take Medicare, people? I'm getting tired. And, you know, another 4% cut, because it's not necessarily going to be a 4% cut for them. It's a 4% cut for Medicare as a whole. But within those, it might be, you know, they might calculate it out as, okay, we can't cut this, but we'll cut this by 15% or 20%. So yeah, that's what's going to hurt. And what decisions they make to cut, that's where it's really going to start hurting people. So I'm going to keep an eye on that and see what's going on. So steal from the poor, give to the rich. Yeah, seems whatever happened to Robin Hood there. Little faith in this house. I'm late. I've been commenting in the house, and now they're all agreeing to start talking now. Yes, so we still have time. Reach out to your politicians, and you know, all we can do is, you know, keep fighting. The most destructive bill in history. I don't know about history. I think Dred Scott was pretty bad, but yeah, it's definitely up there in the top 10. Yeah, I don't think you have to go to the top 40 Casey Kasem type thing. I think it's a top 10. Do you know when the bill will be implemented? Or they're working on it right now, but President Trump wants to sign it by July 4th. So what about the barracks going up around the U.S. Treasury in D.C. and also around the White House for? Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe because of the July 4th weekend coming up or something? Not sure. Can someone please tell me if this is only about Medicaid? I just got in here. No, it's not. It's about the entire healthcare system. The American healthcare system is just, you know, just teetering, you know, from falling down. It's just, what was it? The weebles wobbles, but they don't fall down. Well, this is not one of those, unfortunately. This is anytime you push it a little bit too much, you've got that, that where it's going to affect everything. So, yeah, you can, as soon as I do these lives, YouTube immediately archives them and you can watch this from the beginning. Speaking of watching, let's get into some of my video questions and I'll answer those.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ed. My name is Lisa. I'm 63 years old and I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona. I formally retired 2/29/2024. Did not work a day after that. Recently, when I filed my taxes, I got a letter from Social Security saying that they had overpaid me a huge amount and they would start taking this money out of my upcoming account. So I filed an appeal and made an appointment because I remember the first year rule. I did not work after receiving any Social Security in the month of March. So I was wondering if you could help me. I have an appointment set up with the Social Security office, but I need some guidance because it's a huge lump sum that they want me to pay back. I did work for the federal government, and so, of course, that last check was for services rendered prior to March 1st. It did come in March, so they're trying, if I spoke to someone on the phone, he said that should count, and I said that is for services already rendered. I was hoping that maybe you could help me, my upcoming appointment, because it's a very large sum of money that they say I need to pay back.
All right. This is an easy one. So you're in luck. This happens all the time, unfortunately. So it's basically, as she mentioned, she's doing the monthly earnings limit. So very, very smart there. The monthly earnings limit is, if you're 62, 63, 64, whatever, and you file early, then you're limited to the amount of money you can make. This year, it's the $23,400. But Social Security doesn't care what you made before you start your benefit. So she started her benefits, I think she said in March. So January, February, Social Security doesn't care. You make $1 billion, they don't care. It's how much you made in March. So when she filed, she said that she is going to stop working. And they said, hey, are you going to make over $23,400? And if you say, no, I'm not going to make over $23,400, then it's no problem, done, easy. But if she says, okay, yeah, I'm going to make over $23,400 because I've got some money that's coming in before and stuff, and they say, well, when is it coming in? Well, January, February. Well, what about March? Well, starting March, I'm going to stop working or I'm going to be under the monthly limit, which is $1,950. So, and then they say, okay, no problem. And what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to, in MCS, modernized claim system, I've done this millions of times, is they're Xing out March and making it non-service months. So, super long story short, don't sweat it. You just go in there. This happens all the time. There's special payments. It's called a special payment type thing. And you just take your proof in there and say, yes, I got the check in March, but it wasn't for March. I had some leave accumulated that I sold back, or I've got an extra bonus from, January, February, or from last year. And they just calculated it and they just sent me a check. But I didn't work in March. It's not for money. It's not for work I did in March after I started receiving Social Security checks. So yeah, the person on your phone unfortunately told you incorrectly, but super, super easy. Don't even worry about it. Just go in there and provide your proof that yes, this check was for annual leave. And because you're a federal employee, they know that, the OPM takes forever to calculate your when you sell back annual leave or sick leave or something like that. So easy, easy, easy. Don't even sweat it. Just show proof. And they will cancel out the overpayment, and you can go on with your life and enjoy your retirement. All right, let's watch another one here.
Hi, Dr. Weir. Thanks for what you're doing here. I have a quick question for you. I am 69. I will turn 70 the end of October of this year. So I'm waiting, of course, until I'm 70 to file for Social Security. My question is, based on the fact that the job I've been working at for 37 years, when I retire, I have this pot of hours that I will get paid for. Extended illness hours that I haven't used, vacation hours I haven't used, and
Similar question, huh?
such. I've been thinking that I should wait so that that comes out of my pay in January for next year for tax reasons. But now I'm hearing that I should maybe file for Social Security before the end of this year, so that money will come to me and be claimed on this year's taxes, so that my income for this year will be $20,000 more than it was last year, because that might raise my Social Security payments in in perpetuity, or whatever the word is. So I'm wondering if that's true. Will it make a big difference? Is it a good idea for me to get that money in this calendar year so that it comes out of this year's taxes? Will that make a big difference in my Social Security pay?
Okay, so this is actually a different type of question. Okay, since he's 69 years old, the previous question is completely different. So he's 69, so he can make $1 billion and Social Security doesn't care anymore. But he's wondering whether that money is going to increase his monthly Social Security benefit, and does it matter when he files? No, it does not matter when you file. If you make X amount of money one year, Social Security looks at it 100% automatically. You don't have to do anything other than, play with your friends at the IRS and pay your taxes on it. But as soon as you do all that, then they notify the Social Security Administration. The Social Security Administration looks at it, and if it's one of your high 35 years of earnings, they will automatically recalculate it. They'll kick out the low one, put in the new one, and recalculate your benefits, and that'll increase your benefits. So when you start your benefits, zero relevance. So I'm not sure whether you can, tell your employer, hey, do it this year, because that could make a difference. I don't know if that's what you're getting at as well, whether you could even do this, but if your income is 100,000 and you've got another $20,000 coming, and you can say, hey, don't pay me till next year, so that'll increase, but $20,000 might not be one of your high 35 years. So maybe that $25,000 should go for this year. So this year will be $25,000, whatever I said. And that is a high year, which will increase your Social Security benefit. But most of the times, I don't think you can really manipulate that unless you're, super billionaire, and then you can manipulate any type of tax type of situation. But us regular Joe Schmoes, they determine when that money comes in, I guess. But yeah, it's 100% automatic. You don't have to do anything. And in the future, when you turn 79 years old or 89 years old, if you decide to go back to work and make more money, then that recalculation is 100% automatic as well. You do your taxes January, February, March, Social Security gets that information, and then they look at it, and then they recalculate your benefits. And if it's an increase, they increase your benefits. 100% automatic. So you don't have to worry about that at all. All right. Let's get to another question.
My question is, I am disabled. I've just had last year, my third spine surgery. I've been disabled even before my husband passed away of 40 years. I get disabled widow benefits, and I'm going to be 60 this year. I've had 3 spine surgeries and several other issues. And right after my surgery, Medicaid said that I made too much, and now they're taking money away from me. And I still have to pay the Medicare. I have to pay the Medicare premium. So I don't understand how they ended up doing that. If you can give me an insight, I'd say I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so number one, so this is good that she knew about this program. That's one of the big things that people don't understand is, they don't understand all the other different programs in Social Security, and therefore they're missing benefits. But she knew about the DWIB benefit, disabled widows benefits. And it's basically if you're disabled, and if on your work record, how much you paid in Social Security is not very much, but you were married to someone that passed away, you can file for disabled benefits on that person's record. It's called disabled widows benefits, and you can do that between 50 and 59. So she did that, and then because she's on disability, she gets Medicare after being on disability for 24 months. And because low income, low resources, she also was eligible for Medicaid. But this is we're going to see a lot of videos like this. So, and people are, I'm sure people wonder, new people to my channel are wondering, okay, how can I ask a question like this? And let me go back to my website there. Unfortunately, I can't see it on my website. I've got it cut out there for some reason. But on the bottom left of my website, mygovexpert.com, you'll see a little icon, a little camera type icon, and you press that, and then you can ask a video question, and I always get back to it the next day. Okay, so she lost her Medicaid, which a lot of people are gonna, because she made a little bit more, or what we're also gonna see probably because the states are gonna have a lot less federal money, they're probably going to increase the threshold for receiving Medicaid, or she might still be receiving Medicaid, but they downgraded her Medicaid. And now she'll have to pay for part of her, out of, very little money she makes on a monthly basis, she'll have to pay for some of her health care. And because she either lost her Medicaid or was downgraded, she lost that Medicare savings program, the one that pays $185 of her Medicare, Part B premium. So, yeah, we're going to see a lot more of these videos coming over the next year or so. And it's going to be, I didn't think it was going to happen to me. Well, we're here to tell you that, guess what? All right. So if you did not meet the income or resource threshold because your disabled widows benefits, increased by $5 or $10 because of the COLA, the COLA increase that happened, and that puts you $5 or $10 over, then unfortunately, that's the situation. But a lot of these programs, they have kind of exceptions, so I would file an appeal. And again, the paperwork nightmare, it's going to get even worse, but I would file an appeal and say, hey, I don't think I should have been canceled from Medicaid. I don't think my Medicaid should have been downgraded, so I lose $185, because you're losing $185, plus you're losing the extra help with your health care. And if you have one of those Medicare Advantage plans with the grocery cards, you might have lost, $50, $100, $200 on top of that. So you're probably in a world of hurt right now. So I would make sure those people that in your state Medicaid office made the right decision. So I would file an appeal and say, hey, I need you to check this out, and ask him if there's any exclusions. So like, one of the big exclusions is for SSI, Supplemental Security Income, the welfare-based program, Social Security ministers, and Medicaid, food stamps and stuff. They exclude one house and one vehicle. So those are excluded. So you have to worry about that. And they also exclude like kind of burial insurance if it's a term life or something. And there's also, depending on their state, there's other exclusions. So if you're just $5 or $10 or $15 over, I would say, hey, what exclusions are there? Are you making sure you're applying all the state exclusions to my case? Because that's probably sounds like where you're at. You had it, and then all of a sudden you didn't. So the only thing I could see is it was a COLA increase. But if there's something else in there you're working or something, but I would file an appeal. I would 100% file an appeal and make sure they made the right decision. And then, as always, reach out to your politician and say, hey, this is unbelievable. What is going on? Or move to Alaska, I guess, because they have special.
Explain Social Security spousal top-up and whom it applies to. Thank you.
All right, that was a quick question. Social Security spousal top-up. So you're probably thinking about when someone files for spouse benefits, and let me pop up my website here. So when somebody files for spouse benefits, so you go into my family there, so there's spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, a thing called independently entitled divorce spouse, child benefits, child and care. So if you're talking about spouse benefits, I even got a little calculator here, a free calculator that you can use. So if you're receiving spouse benefits, number one, you have to file for benefits on your own record. And I think what you're thinking of the top up, and people call things different things, but anyway, is let's say you're receiving $1,000 on your own record, and you're eligible for $1,500 from your spouse, current spouse, divorce spouse, whatever the case may be. You won't receive $2,500. You won't receive $1,000 and the $1,500. You'll receive $1,000 plus it'll be topped up with another $500 from your spouse's record. That is if you are your full retirement age. If you're not, then you won't receive the full $500. You'll receive a reduced amount. So, and the calculations get kind of wonky there because it's not based on your full benefit. Well, you are going to get your reduced benefit amount if you filed early, but how much you get from your spouse is based on your age and your full benefit amount. A lot of people miss that calculation and they calculate incorrectly. And there's a lot of people out there that are so-called Social Security experts because they took a two-day class and they got a cute little certificate that says, I'm a Social Security expert, and they go out there and give a bunch of misinformation. And so that's what I do on my channel on a regular basis is, okay, I saw some stupid thing yesterday and let me correct the record. So if the mentally ill lose their insurance and cannot get their medication, I see a very chaotic situation coming to be. Yes, that is going to be the elderly, children having to follow those paperwork and their parents. If their parents don't do it, the mentally ill, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. The BBB is still in the House. It has not been finalized. Yes. So, but it definitely looks like it's definitely on track. Hopefully, but we need to please reach out there and let's see if we can stop it. But if not, then we got to do what we got to do. A sense of entitlement can breed dissatisfaction when expectations are not met or benefits are withdrawn, even if the initial offering was act or generosity assistance. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't have the sense of entitlement. It don't have to be, struggling on a month to have a sense of entitlement, as you call it. And I think Jeff Bezos, and he felt entitled to shut down the entire city for his wedding. So yeah. You mentioned that SSDI fund will last longer than the Social Security fund. Yes. So the trust fund is into two trust funds. And one is the OASI, Old Age and Survivors Insurance, and that one is expected to run out a lot sooner and have about 23% cut. So if you're receiving retirement benefits or survivor benefits, then you're looking at about 2034, 2033, and about 23% cuts, everybody across the board. The Social Security Disability Trust Fund is a different trust fund, and it's actually good. It's good for a long, long time. But what they'll probably do once we come down to the date when they have to start making those cuts, they'll probably just consolidate those two, but it's still not going to make a difference. Rather than 23% cuts, we're looking at about 19% cuts, and it just, delays it for a few months. So prayers the beautiful bill does not pass. This is going to hurt many people and myself. Yeah, and Mary, it's going to hurt you if it passes. But the problem is too many people don't know it's going to hurt them. And there's a lot of people that, have gone into that side, and the reality is not in their wheelhouse. And even if it does, they're going to, blame, Biden's laptop or something. So, yeah, regardless of the fact, they're going to blame. Yeah. If murder is a criminal act, then why is the U.S. government not held accountable? Yeah, that's been the age-old thing, going into war and stuff like that. But yeah, that was debated in Athens, and yeah, from the beginning of mankind. What if you're unable unable-bodied, and SSI, SSDI, SNAP, psychiatric treatment, counseling, stress, anxiety, and can't work because of health conditions. Then if you're receiving SSI, unable to work, SSDI and stuff, then theoretically, your Medicare, Medicaid, everything should continue. SSI, SNAP, it should continue. In a beautiful, perfect world, it will continue. But what I want to impress upon people is you're going to have to go through a lot of bureaucratic red tape more often to make sure you get that. And even if you do everything 100% perfectly, if it gets lost in the local Medicaid office or something, then it's going to be tough to restart that stuff. And, because there's going to be cuts across the country, the hospitals, psychiatric hospitals, whatever the case may be, they are going to be reducing staff and getting cuts and all the rest of it. So unfortunately, this is going to affect everybody. This is going to affect everybody. But I'm coming up with that, the community resources, and we're going to try to help people. I'm putting together a kind of a database where you can just put in your state and your zip code, and it gives you some community resources in your particular area. And then we're also going to start a section that I'm going to really, really need y'all's help on. That if you have a local Medicaid office that you go to in Houston or Tampa or wherever the case may be, and you did the paperwork and you know exactly what paperwork is needed and how to fill it out and everything, then we're going to need your help. You put down there, I went to the office in Bradenton, over on by the Green River Bridge I used to fish off of, by the planetarium, and this is the deal, and you really need to show up there about on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. That's when they're the least busy, and you have to make sure you provide this form and this form and this form and duplicate, and make sure you provide your income statements, and make sure you provide this, and we're gonna have and again, I'm going to need y'all's help on all that. So this is why we have such an awesome community, because I know y'all are going to step up and go into the website and start putting that information. So I'm building the structure now. So, but hopefully we won't need it. Hopefully it doesn't pass, but just in case. Well, I'm going to have the website. I'm going to have that part of it, the community resources part of the website, for all the other resources as well. So. Hello, everyone on this wonderful page. Yes, I unfortunately have no faith at this point while this is happening to so many. Yes, but you have faith in you and your loved ones and our community, and you're going to help people out. I know you are, because you're awesome like that. I have never trusted a politician. Everyone who voted for this bill needs to be voted out. Yes, but they don't, they're taking their chances, because what Mitch McConnell says, y'all are get over it. So the election, they'll find some other type of wedge issue. They'll find something in the news to, rally their base, and their base will just continue to vote. So, we'll forget about it. You nailed it. It's all about keeping their job. Yes, unfortunately, it's sad. My 50-year-old son will be psychotic when he loses his drug coverage. I'm from Alaska, and Murkowski betrayed us all. Rep is going to vote yes to pass the bill in the House of Rep. Well, actually, in Alaska, you're good. So she, sold out the rest of the country. But in terms of Alaska, that is if the parliamentarian, I'm not sure, because someone said, the parliamentarian kicked that out. Yes, they did. But they somehow, in the middle of the night, they added some stuff back in there. But maybe the parliamentarian looks at it again and throws it out. But that's beside the point. The fact that she was willing to do that at all is, just, I know he's a politician. I wouldn't make a good politician because I don't like lying. Yes. Ed said at the very beginning, it will affect all of us at some point. Yes. You just have to follow the dots. I hope it doesn't, but again, if you live in a big city, like, California or something like that, California is like the 4th largest economy in the world. They've got tons of money. So whatever the federal government decides to cut back, I think maybe like a rich country, well, if it could be a separate country, it'd be the fourth largest country in the world. But they might be able to take care of things. New York, same type of situation. Texas, they could, but yeah, Texas is not really good about taking care of people. Places like Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana, those are, really, really going to get hurt. All right, let's see. We are we're at an hour and we are over time. I wanted to help some more people out with all things Social Security, but we got into kind of the big picture, but we have to focus on the big picture sometime as well. So we did that today, but I will be back again tomorrow. And if you got any questions, make sure you go ahead and make a video and ask me any questions, and I'll get to as many as I can tomorrow. Y'all have an awesome